So how about we talk about um, your financial situation and what brings you in to counseling?
Well, currently I've been struggling with a lot of different things financially, unfortunately. Part of it being in between jobs. The current job I have is not making me enough money to handle all of the situations that keep arising between medical expenses and car loans and finding ways to bring in extra money. I'm just finding out that the job field that I'm currently in is just not bringing me enough money, so I need to go back to school. And then there's the added cost of going to school versus working. It's really difficult to plan a budget around that and try to figure out going forward how I'm going to find ways to bring more money in or find ways to figure out what expenses I have and how to best to go about doing that.
So can you share a little bit about kind of your overall financial situation? Do you have talk about maybe do you have savings or kind of how things have been going?
Well, unfortunately, savings usually only lasts a couple of months. Every time I try to shell money away, it tends to have some sort of life event that ends up needing to have it. I know you're supposed to have, 3 times your mortgage set aside in your bank account for emergency funds, and I just haven't been able. Hasn't been possible. Between childcare expenses and now moving expenses, we just can't seem to get ahead, and it's just very frustrating. Um, with my particular field, it just kind of limits where I can work. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, but unfortunately, the wage cap is pretty low when considering other fields. As a chef, it's really hard to find um, good paying work that you're not also working 100 hours a week, and then that gives you the opportunity losing the opportunity cost of working somewhere else, or say working a second job instead of working one job and wasting a lot of money and time and energy. So it's a toss up. I need to change fields. That's what it looks like. I think that my current field of work isn't affording me enough financial stability to help me move forward. It doesn't give me any savings. It doesn't allow me to pay my bills. So going back to school seems to be the best option to try and find a new career path.
So what about your bills? Is that something, or bills like your monthly expenses? Is that something that is usually pretty? You're able to pay those and pay them on time, or is there?
Well, it seems like I've been behind the last couple of months, or just paying it right before it's 30 days late, which also sets you not doesn't set you up for success necessarily, because you're constantly in that state where you're just living paycheck to paycheck, and that's not a good place to be. Um, Having no savings and working paycheck to paycheck, if something comes up that's unforeseen, every time you feel like you're getting close to being caught up, it just doesn't happen. And having to take payday loans and stuff like that, just it really takes a bite out of you every single month. And not having close family available to be able to help you out with that is also difficult. Moving would be another option. Moving to an area where there's more opportunity, something I've been considering. I think moving might be the right option. Going to a place where there's more job pool, a greater job pool, and more resources. So that might be an option.
So it sounds like you've been kind of struggling to get things caught up and kind of stable. And then what about things like utilities and food and other things? Are you finding that those are easy to manage, or are those also kind of a struggle?
It's kind of on a priority basis. I mean, I really wish that I could prioritize food over paying the bills, but unfortunately, collection expenses are even more expensive, or getting utilities cut off is even more expensive. Mm-hmm. So you have to prioritize your mortgage and your cars because it get you to work, and then food just seems to be something that you get it when that's not a good feeling. So it's got to be a way to figure that out, push forward.
So do you feel like you are ready to start thinking about setting some goals, some specific goals for?
Absolutely. I think that that's how I'm going to be able to break through the next level is being able to plan a budget, know exactly what I'm spending every month, having an idea where that cash flow is, so that I know exactly what I'm spending on every single thing in my life, and seeing if there is areas where I could tighten the belt a little bit, and then or be able to say switch companies on something, like get rid of cable or whatever. Try to find a way to save some money so that I can use that money somewhere else.
So it sounds like you're feeling ready to kind of set up some budgets and some strategies for kind of the immediate needs and the immediate time right now is kind of what it sounds like you're saying. Is that
also
is that your
long
thing?
term? Not just short term. Short term being that need money for expenses to get from point A to point B, but also for the future, trying to plan so that I don't get in this position again. And that for me holds a higher importance. The short term, seems to be the rotation you get into, and then you don't ever plan for that long term. And that's what I need to do is figure out what the big picture is, not necessarily just. The short term is important too, obviously, but long term, starting to set those goals to where I want to be, and knowing exactly like retirement and stuff like that. As I turn 35 this year, that starts to become more prevalent. And not having any savings whatsoever, telling me that like I can't rely on Social Security to take care of me when I get older. I need to start thinking about these things now.
Well, it sounds like you have some good short-term and long-term goals, and they are pretty interrelated in terms of one and the other working together to create some more stability. Is that kind of the purpose of your seeking financial counseling?
Absolutely. I think short-term and long-term goals are, figuring out where you're at with that is integral. You can't, you need to have the short-term goals to get to the long-term goals. That's definitely the reason why I'm here. So, is there any direction you think you could push me towards as far as planning a budget?
Well, that's definitely something as we go through this counseling process that we can look at together, and we have resources available to kind of help start to make those decisions and lay those things out. So first step is doing what we're doing now and kind of just establishing kind of where you're at and getting a bigger picture, and then we can really look at how you can go about first we'll set some pretty distinct goals, and then we'll work on finding ways to meet them. So just having an understanding of where you're at and what you're really wanting to accomplish is the first step. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
A few ideas I had. I've been thinking about restructuring my home loan and refinancing my car. I have thankfully been able to keep my credit score up. So I think that those two things would help restructure some of those funds, make some more money available to help start pushing forward. If I'm saving a couple $100 a month, that's a huge push forward. So I think that might be a good short-term goal to start to get working on.
Well, great. So, for today's session, we're out of time, but I think it would be good to start maybe thinking about those things. And the next time we meet, we can talk about setting some specific goals.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a nice day.